Ms. Thank you for being here. At the committee, we had covered some of the questions that the committee raised with respect to the facial recognition technology. So if you or Mr. Bay could speak to that, because we did address this in committee with respect to the sophistication of the system. If you can.
I'm sorry, Councilman, could you please repeat the question?
So in committee, we talked about whether or not the system was designed for movement and motion, or if there would be facial recognition.
System doesn't have the facial recognition capability right now, no.
And so the grant that we're receiving right now would not be towards facial recognition.
No.
The additional information with respect to systems integration, my understanding from committee is that that is something that could happen in the future, but we currently do not have operating agreements with AC Transit or BART or these others. So for the public record, if you could speak to the concerns that the public have raised tonight with respect to the integration of the system and the monitoring of private citizens.
As I said earlier.
And then if there is a reason that we need to save data in that system, then we would develop the protocols for that.
So the last.
Essentially what you just said. So if you vote on it, you're sad.
So with respect to the funding of this is all federally funded from the grant? Is that what?
That is correct. The first funding came from the ARA, which is the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, and it was under the guise of port security funding, but it came from ARA.
And with respect to how effective the cameras have been in terms of maintaining port security, was there anything that you all looked at in the other systems so that we could, to the point that was not included in the staff report, is there data that's been provided?
There is data available on various sources. In particular, I can cite a study from the Urban Institute of Justice and Policy Center. And there was a study done for a 3-year period from 2007 through 2010 that indicated that cities such as Baltimore and Chicago that have surveillance cameras could more than double, triple the cost benefit of having the surveillance cameras, and in terms of it reducing the crime in the area. And as we know, those two cities are known for having high crime in their cities. And the surveillance camera studies developed and done by this Urban Institute of Justice and Policy Center showed that there was definitely a cost benefit to having these cameras, and also a safety and security benefit.
Thank you.
All right, I think actually a lot of my questions have already been covered. It sounds like at this time we don't know whether we're going to record any information at all, the city of Oakland. And so perhaps what we could agree to today is that if the city of Oakland decides to in any way record any of this data, and certainly we want to make it clear that this authorization doesn't include facial recognition technology, but if any of those things happens, you must return to council. Would that be a reasonable?
Yes, it would be.
And I've been to Caltrans, their center, and to have that information in a natural disaster would be incredibly helpful. It could save lives. It really could. And we're talking again about live feeds, not recording data. And these are, if you can also confirm, these are all locations that are in the public. They're not places where people would have a reasonable expectation of privacy. They're very public.
That's absolutely correct. They are all private public areas. And as Hassan stated, the city only has 4 or 5 cameras currently.
I
The rest
understand.
are all port cameras.
I understand you have a working group, so I think these are issues you could take to your working group, but I think you hear what the council's concerns are, and I would trust you to come back to us if any of those issues becomes part of the city's agreement. So
Absolutely.
That covers my concerns, thanks.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, you know, for me, I wish we could just hold this over for us to be able to do an additional research. Look, we can. Yeah, well, I would like that we put it over. I mean, given that, you know, we can't even get our freaking phones working for a police officer for public safety. I mean, and we got an Oracle system that don't work half the time. And now we want to add this additional technology when there's only 2 to 3 years of funding for maintenance. And so there are still some outstanding questions that city staff needs to respond in order for us to make an intelligent decision. If you want us to just vote because we like this new technology and we don't know how it works and we don't know everything that's involved in it, I mean, I guess we could do that tonight, but I would prefer for us not to, and I would like to put this over, Madam President. Oh. Now, Madam President, if we can put this over until the next council meeting, I would appreciate it. That would be my motion.
Okay, so Mr. Reed moved to put it over 2 weeks, and Ms. McElhaney has seconded that. So we don't even need to vote, that 2 people can do that. We also have Ms. Brooks still in the queue. Would you like to speak now?
I want to thank staff for coming up and providing the presentation and focus a little bit of the discussion. This system isn't in place. It was talking about working on a system to be put in place. And so there were many opportunities. I think when this comes back to the council, maybe putting out early a timeline of what you expect things to happen so that the public is fully versed on this and can participate in the discussion going forward. But it really speaks to why items like this should not be on the consent calendar. Items that are, and this isn't, I'm not speaking to staff, I'm speaking to the council because that decision is made at the committee level, not by staff. But this item was supposed to be vetted in committee. It was only supposed to go on consent calendar if it wasn't controversial. And clearly, there are people who have a different opinion. So I thank you for standing here to put forth the information. When it comes back, because this is only a delay of 2 weeks, it would be helpful if we had the timeline and people know in advance when they should come out so that you have notice and you can't say we didn't give it to you. It would be helpful. And I think, to be clear, it's about a system that's yet to be put in place. Thank you.
So, thank you. So, Ms. Domingo, so you hear, so I think we're asking for a supplemental report to come before the next time that comes back, which is July 30th. And just for the information for the public, all these staff reports and all the noticing of everything on Oakland City Council meetings and our council committee meetings are on the city's website, oaklandnet.com. You can either go to the city clerk or the city council and click on the agendas, and you can read all these reports. You can easily, from your computer, follow what is coming up 10 days in advance on any council meeting. All right, so that item is going to be put over, and Madam Clerk, do we